Elena had never been one to back down from a challenge. Ever since she was a child, she'd navigated the unpredictable waters of life with a fierce independence that bordered on stubbornness. The city streets, alive with the hum of midnight energy, were both a comfort and a reminder of her fragility. She thrived on the adrenaline of her busy life, balancing her career as a graphic designer with her social outings. Yet, that night, something distinct hung in the air, a tension that made the electricity of the crowded restaurant feel nearly palpable. As she entered the Velvet Room, a high-end restaurant renowned not just for its gastronomic delights, but for its clientele, she felt an unmistakable charge. The lavish decor of velvet drapes and dimmed lights was meant to envelop patrons in luxury, yet tonight, it felt like a shroud around her, a veil concealing the chaos that thrived just beneath the surface. Elena knew this place attracted those who danced with danger, yet she found herself inexplicably drawn to it, just as she was drawn to the undercurrents of intrigue and shadow that lay in the heart of the city. Before you skip, just remember, channels like this only survive if you hit subscribe. Otherwise, stories like this one just disappear. Seated at a corner table with an exquisite view of the bustling crowd, she sipped her wine, her thoughts swirling like the delicate Merlot in her glass. In the corner, a group of men in tailored suits laughed, their voices mingling with the soft jazz notes that floated through the air. Elena kept her gaze averted, opting instead to focus on her sketchpad, where she had been doodling ideas for a new project. But a sudden shift in energy broke her concentration. A tall figure emerged from the shadows, commanding attention with every step he took. Victor. She had seen him before, or at least she thought she had, as whispers about him echoed through the city's underbelly. He carried an air of authority like a cloak, and his presence suffocated the jovial atmosphere surrounding him. His dark hair was slicked back, and his piercing blue eyes scanned the room, assessing, calculating. Elena's heart thudded against her ribcage, a fluttering anomaly amidst her otherwise steady demeanor. As if sensing her gaze, Victor turned his head slightly, his eyes locking onto hers for a fleeting moment. Time stalled, her breath hitched in her throat. She could feel the gravity of the moment, a ripple of something unnameable that drew her to him, even as her instincts screamed to look away. There was an allure, a magnetism that compelled her forward, yet she remained anchored in her seat, unable to reconcile the conflicting emotions that tangled in her chest. Throughout the evening, he occupied her thoughts, a specter haunting the edges of her consciousness. The more she tried to shake off her intrigue, the deeper it sank. She wasn't naive, she understood the language of men like him. Power, danger, ambition, they were all chapters in a story she preferred to avoid. Yet something about Victor was different. He was a puzzle wrapped in layers of mystery, and she felt inexplicably drawn to uncovering every piece. As the night wore on, an unexpected commotion erupted in the restaurant. A member of Victor's entourage, a loyalty-bound man dressed in black, raised his voice, drawing the attention of the patrons. Words were exchanged, the tension palpable, and Elena held her breath, wondering what had sparked such fervor. Victor remained composed, his expression unwavering, as if chaos was merely a backdrop to his thoughts. She admired his control, but a tiny voice inside warned her of the danger that came with such poise. Elena's instincts kicked in, and she hastily gathered her belongings, glancing over her shoulder as she prepared to leave. Yet, as she turned toward the exit, she found herself face to face with Victor, blocking her path. The world around them dimmed into insignificance, and all she could focus on was the intensity of his gaze, which seemed to penetrate her very soul. "Are you leaving so soon?" His voice was low, a rich baritone that vibrated with a subtle authority. It was a question, yet it felt like a command. The air thickened with unspoken words, and she could feel the weight of his presence, pressing against her in a way that both excited and terrified her. Elena stammered, caught off guard. Her pulse raced, betraying her feigned calmness. She had never been one to falter in front of anyone, especially not a man like him. But something in Victor's demeanor unnerved her, igniting both fear and fascination. "Stay a while longer, Elena. I promise you won't regret it." The way he said her name was like a caress, lingering in the air between them, igniting a spark of curiosity that she couldn't quite extinguish. A flash of rebellion stirred within her, battling against her instinct to turn away. "And why would I want to do that?" she challenged, trying to reclaim her composure. His lips curled into a slight smile, a mix of amusement and something darker. "Because I think you and I might have more in common than you think." His eyes glinted with an enigmatic charm that hinted at dangerous depths beneath the surface. Elena felt a pull toward him, an inexplicable connection that both thrilled and terrified her. The moment lingered, stretching into eternity as they stood locked in a silent challenge, neither willing to break the spell of their confrontation. In that instant, as the world buzzed around them, she understood that she was standing at the precipice of something monumental, something that would inevitably draw her into the enigma of Victor's life. The evening ended with Elena stepping back into the chaos of the night, her pulse quickened, her mind racing. Questions swirled like the autumn leaves caught in the wind. Who was Victor really, and why did his presence evoke a yearning deep within her? She felt as if she had entered a labyrinth, each twist and turn leading her closer to the heart of darkness that was his world, and she couldn't help but wonder if she would ever find her way back. The connection forged in their brief encounter left a lingering trace in her heart, a whisper of danger and allure. As she walked away, she couldn't shake the feeling that her life was about to intertwine irrevocably with the complexities of Victor's existence. The stakes were rising, and she was about to step into a world she never knew existed, one that would challenge every notion of safety she had ever held dear. Elena felt the air crackle between her and Victor as he stood mere inches away, the intensity of his presence almost suffocating. The world around her faded into a blur, every sound dampened, leaving only the rhythmic thud of her heart echoing in her ears. His gaze was piercing, making her acutely aware of her own vulnerability, yet there was an undeniable pull, a desperate urge to step closer, to unravel the mystery that enveloped him. "You're leaving so soon?" Victor's voice was smooth, low, a rich timbre that sent shivers down her spine. It was a question, but it felt more like an invitation, laced with challenge and intrigue. Elena hesitated, her instincts battling against the magnetic allure he exuded. She had built her life on independence, but here he was effortlessly dismantling the walls she had constructed around herself. "I have work to do," she managed to say, attempting to sound resolute despite the tremble in her voice. Victor stepped aside slightly, allowing her the path she sought but making it clear with his posture that he wasn't finished with her yet. "I could make that work disappear," he replied, an enigmatic smile curling at the corners of his lips. "Join me tonight. There's a private gathering I think you would find fascinating." Elena's breath caught in her throat. This was the moment she had both wanted and dreaded. The very thought of stepping into the world he belonged to sent a rush of adrenaline through her veins. On one hand, it was a glimpse into a life so opposite her own, on the other, it was a dangerous game. She had heard whispers of the lives led by men like Victor, how they played with fire, often getting burned. "Why me?" The question slipped out before she could second-guess herself, her tone laced with skepticism. He chuckled softly, a sound that was both disarming and unsettling. "Because you intrigue me, Elena. You're not like the others." His eyes held a depth that seemed to suggest he saw right through her, past the layers she had carefully constructed. The intensity of his gaze made her pulse quicken, and she fought to maintain her composure. She bit her lip, weighing her options. She could easily walk away, preserve her mundane but safe life. Yet, something inside her craved the thrill, the danger that had become so intoxicatingly apparent since entering the velvet room. "What kind of gathering?" she asked, her curiosity piqued despite her better judgment. "A gathering of like-minded individuals," he replied, his voice dipping lower, as if sharing a secret. "Powerful people who shape the world around us. You would meet influential figures, see how they operate. It could be beneficial for you." Elena frowned, skepticism creeping back in. "And what do you gain from inviting me?" Victor stepped closer, lowering his voice further, making her acutely aware of the proximity. "I gain the opportunity to know you better. To see if the woman behind that fierce independence can dance with the shadows. The challenge in his words ignited a fire within her. She had never been one to shy away from a challenge, and yet this was unlike anything she had ever faced. The prospect of stepping into Victor's world was simultaneously exhilarating and terrifying. Would she survive the encounter, or would she lose herself in the tumult of power and danger? "I'll think about it," she replied, striving for nonchalance even as her heart raced in her chest. Victor nodded, a glimmer of satisfaction in his eyes. "I'll expect your answer soon." He stepped back, allowing her to pass this time. As she walked away, she felt his gaze linger, a weighty heat that followed her to the restaurant's exit. Outside, the cool night air hit her like a splash of cold water, grounding her in reality. She leaned against the brick wall, taking a moment to collect her thoughts, her mind racing with the implications of Victor's invitation. This could be the moment she crossed a threshold into a world she had only glanced at from a distance. Elena pulled out her phone, her fingers hovering over the screen. The decision weighed heavily on her. Should she reply, accept the invitation and dive into this uncertain adventure? Or should she turn back, retreat into the safety of her ordinary life? She shook her head, attempting to dispel the thoughts swirling in her mind. She had always chosen independence, a life free from the complications of powerful men. Yet Victor's presence was a siren's call, beckoning her into uncharted waters. As she walked home, each step felt like a countdown to a decision that could change everything. Victor had offered her a glimpse into his world, a taste of the power and allure that came with it. But it was a double-edged sword, and she couldn't ignore the danger that lurked beneath the surface. Her dreams that night were filled with images of Victor, his piercing eyes and enigmatic smile haunting her subconscious. The allure of the unknown tugged at her heart, promising excitement and temptation. But she'd seen firsthand how easily desire could lead to ruin. The next morning, Elena awoke with resolve. She had to make a choice, and she knew deep down that she wouldn't be able to resist attending the gathering. Curiosity was a powerful force, and the thrill of stepping into Victor's world was too tantalizing to ignore. She grabbed her phone, her heart racing as she typed out her response. "I'll come." The words felt like a pact, sealing her fate and drawing her closer to the man who had already begun to unravel her carefully constructed life. As she hit send, a mixture of excitement and trepidation coursed through her. She was about to step into a realm filled with secrets and power, and with it, she knew she would also be stepping closer to Victor. The question that lingered was whether she would emerge from the shadows stronger or forever changed. Elena stood at the entrance of the private gathering, her heart racing as she pushed the heavy door open. The atmosphere inside was thick with anticipation, every corner of the lavishly decorated room exuding wealth and power. Dim lighting cast shadows on the faces of the guests, mingling in clusters, their voices blending into a low hum that resonated with an undercurrent of something far more intense than mere socializing. She could feel the weight of their gazes upon her, sizing her up as she stepped further into the den of the elite. Before you skip, just remember, channels like this only survive if you hit subscribe. Otherwise, stories like this one just disappear. Victor was already there, standing tall and confident at the center of a group that seemed to hang on his every word. He spoke effortlessly, his gestures fluid, drawing laughter and nods from those around him. Elena felt a flutter of pride and fear wash over her as she observed him from a distance. This was a side of him she hadn't yet seen, the powerful leader, the man who commanded respect without uttering a threat. The way he carried himself was magnetic, and she found herself inching closer, compelled to witness the dynamic at play. As she approached, Victor's gaze flicked to her, and a smile broke across his face that seemed to light up the dim room. It was a smile that ignited a warmth within her, yet Elena knew better than to let it distract her. She had come here to learn, to understand what lay behind the curtain of luxury and intimidation. "Ah, there she is," Victor announced, his voice cutting through the chatter as he gestured for her to join him. The group parted, allowing her to step into the circle, and suddenly, all eyes were on her. "This is Elena," he introduced her, his tone rich with pride. a woman of extraordinary independence and intellect. The words sent a rush of warmth to her cheeks, but she quickly masked it with confidence, straightening her posture as she offered a polite smile to the group. "Nice to meet you," she said, her voice steady despite the nervous fluttering in her chest. One of the men, a burly figure with a thick beard and a suit that seemed tailored for a king, stepped forward and extended his hand. "Welcome to our little gathering," he said, his voice deep and welcoming. "I'm Alexei. Victor has told us quite a bit about you." Elena felt the weight of Victor's attention, and it both thrilled and unnerved her. "I hope it was all good things," she replied lightly, trying to conceal the tremor in her voice. The group laughed, and she could sense Victor's approval at her attempt to fit in. As the evening progressed, Elena found herself surrounded by discussions that danced around business deals, political maneuvers, and veiled threats that made her heart pound. Each word hung heavy with implications, and she quickly learned that the world she had stepped into was not just about luxury, it was about power in its most raw form. "Elena, what do you think?" Victor's voice broke through her thoughts, drawing her attention back to him. He was looking directly at her, his expression curious and slightly amused. The intensity of his gaze made it hard for her to focus. "I think it's fascinating," she replied, glancing at the other guests who were now watching her, intrigued. "You all seem to have a unique way of doing business." Victor chuckled softly, and the room seemed to lean in, eager to hear her take. "Unique, yes. But it's not always as glamorous as it appears," he said, his tone shifting slightly as he lowered his voice. "Every decision comes with risks, ones that can't always be anticipated." Elena's curiosity deepened. "What kind of risks?" she asked, the question slipping out before she could think better of it. The way Victor's expression turned serious sent a shiver down her spine. "Loyalty can be a fickle thing," he replied, his eyes narrowing. "In my world, trust is a currency more valuable than gold." She noticed the way the room shifted, the laughter fading slightly as the gravity of his words settled in. It was a stark reminder of the dangers that surrounded them, and Elena felt a thrill mixed with fear. She was witnessing the underbelly of the life she had only heard whispers about, the intricate web of alliances and betrayals that defined Victor's existence. "What do you think of loyalty, Elena?" Victor asked, his gaze piercing. She could feel the weight of his question pressing upon her, and for a moment, she faltered. "I think it's essential," she replied finally, her voice steadier than she felt. "But it can also be dangerous if misplaced." A sly smile formed on Victor's lips, and she could see the approval in his eyes. "You are wise beyond your years." He leaned closer, the heat of his presence radiating toward her. "But wisdom in this world often comes at a cost." Elena's heart raced, and the tension between them crackled like electricity. She was drawn to him, to the danger and the allure he represented, yet a small voice in her head warned her to tread carefully. "What cost?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper, challenging him to reveal more. Victor's expression turned serious once more, and she sensed that she had crossed an invisible line. "The cost of silence, of loyalty, it can mean life or death." His words hung heavily in the air, and Elena felt a chill run down her spine. She was no longer a mere observer, she was entangled in the very fabric of this world, and she could feel the stakes rising. As the evening wore on, Elena found herself increasingly aware of Victor's presence. Every glance, every word exchanged between them heightened the tension, igniting a spark that was impossible to ignore. The way he leaned in when she spoke, the way his eyes darkened with intensity, made her pulse race. Yet, amidst the thrill, a question lingered in her mind: was she ready to embrace this dangerous world? Could she navigate the shadows without losing herself? The night continued, each moment pulling her deeper into Victor's world. And as she stood there, caught between the intoxicating allure of power and the safety of her previous life, she realized that her decision was no longer just about curiosity. It was about stepping into a reality that could change everything, including her own heart. As the gathering began to dwindle, Victor tilted his head slightly, a silent challenge lingering in the air. Are you ready to see more, Elena? Her heart thundered in her chest as she met his gaze, and for the first time, she truly felt the weight of the choice before her. The thrill of the unknown beckoned, and she knew this was only the beginning of a dangerous dance that would test her strength and resolve like never before. As Elena engaged in conversation with the guests, she felt the tension in the room shift suddenly, an unspoken warning that rippled through the air. A faint murmur of concern broke the laughter, and she noticed Victor's demeanor change. The magnetic confidence he radiated moments ago now seemed to harden, his gaze sharpening as he scanned the crowd. It was subtle, but the transformation was palpable. The charm of the Mafia boss was now replaced with an urgent vigilance that set her heart racing. "Excuse me for a moment," he said quietly, his tone a stark contrast to the buoyant banter that had just filled the air. He stepped away, seamlessly blending into the throng of well-dressed individuals, but Elena could see the tension radiating from his shoulders. She instinctively followed him, curiosity and concern propelling her forward. What could possibly threaten this gathering of powerful men? As she moved closer, Elena caught snippets of hushed conversations. Words like disloyalty, betrayal, and warning floated through the air, each one sending a chill down her spine. Victor's expression was stern as he spoke to Alexei, the burly man who had welcomed her earlier. Their heads were bent together, voices low and urgent, but she could see the flicker of unease in Victor's normally composed demeanor, a glimpse of the man beneath the cold exterior. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed through the room, causing guests to turn in alarm. A heavy chandelier swung ominously, and for a brief moment, time seemed to suspend. Victor's eyes met Elena's across the room, and in that instant, she saw something in his gaze that nearly took her breath away: fear. It was fleeting, almost imperceptible, but it stirred something deep within her, unraveling the protective barriers she had erected around her heart. "Stay close," he commanded, his voice low but firm as he stepped toward her, the chaos of the gathering fading into the background. His presence enveloped her, a shield against the uncertainty that filled the air. Elena nodded, instinctively moving to his side, her heart pounding not just from fear but from a burgeoning sense of intimacy. Here, in this moment of crisis, she witnessed a vulnerability in Victor that contrasted sharply with the fearsome image he usually projected. "Do you know what's happening?" she asked, urgency coloring her tone. "Not yet," he replied, his jaw tightening. "But I won't let anything happen to you." His words, a promise wrapped in an ironclad resolve, settled heavily between them. While the surrounding guests began to murmur anxiously, Elena felt a rush of warmth at his declaration. She had come to see Victor as an unyielding force, but this moment revealed the depths of his character: a protector, a man who cared fiercely for those he deemed important. As the guests around them began to disperse, some moving toward the exits in a panic, Victor's attention remained locked on her. "Stay behind me," he instructed, positioning himself as a barrier between her and the uncertainty looming beyond. The shift in their dynamic was palpable. The stakes had escalated, forcing them into an unexpected alliance against an unseen threat. "Why did you bring me here?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper, the weight of the moment pressing down on her. It was a question that had lingered in her mind since their first encounter, but now, with danger looming, it felt more urgent. "Because," Victor hesitated, his eyes searching hers, an internal battle playing out behind his stoic facade. "I wanted you to understand my world. But I never wanted you to experience the danger that comes with it." Before she could respond, the atmosphere shifted again. A commotion erupted near the entrance, drawing their attention. A figure burst through the door, his face obscured by a hood, but the tension in the air was unmistakable. Elena felt Victor's muscles tense beside her as he subtly shifted, ready to act. "Victor," the man called, his voice laced with urgency. "We need to talk. It's about Dmitri." The name hung heavily in the air, and Elena's heart raced. Dmitri was a name she had heard whispered in dark corners, a threat that lingered in the shadows of Victor's world. The implications of this sudden intrusion were palpable, and her instincts screamed that they were standing at a precipice. "Wait," Victor commanded, his voice cutting through the chaos. "You should have called before coming here." This isn't a safe place for discussions of this nature. Safe, the man scoffed. Do you think any place is safe anymore? He's coming for you, Victor. And he's not alone. Elena's pulse quickened as she processed the gravity of the situation. The revelation of an impending threat not only heightened the tension but also solidified her place in Victor's life. She was no longer just an observer, she was woven into the fabric of his world, entangled in the danger that surrounded him. Get her out of here, Victor ordered, his voice a low growl as he turned to Alexei. Now. No, Elena interjected, the defiance in her tone surprising even herself. I'm not leaving you. Victor's gaze softened momentarily, a flicker of appreciation mixed with frustration. You don't understand what's at stake, he replied, though his voice was gentler, as if he were trying to reach her through the veil of panic. I understand more than you think, she insisted, stepping closer, refusing to back down. I'm not afraid of this world, Victor. I want to be with you, no matter the risks. The intensity of their connection crackled in the air, and Elena could see the conflict in his eyes. She could sense the walls he had built around his heart beginning to crack, even if just a little. In that charged moment, the chaos around them faded away, leaving just the two of them standing on the brink of an uncertain future. Then stay close, he finally conceded, the weight of their situation settling heavily on both of them. But promise me you'll listen to me, no matter what happens. I promise, she vowed, the sincerity of her words wrapping around them like a lifeline as the looming threat crystallized into something more tangible. Whatever dangers lay ahead, they would face them together, their fates entwined in a way Elena had never anticipated. And as Victor resumed his protective stance, she felt a surge of determination. In that moment, she understood that her feelings for him had grown deeper than mere attraction, they were bound together by something more powerful, something that could withstand even the darkest storms of his world. As the figure stepped further into the room, his hood falling back to reveal a face marked by scars and shadows, a tense silence enveloped the gathering. The man's eyes, dark and piercing, fixed on Victor with an intensity that could ignite flames. Elena felt the atmosphere thicken, a palpable pressure that made her pulse quicken. Victor stiffened beside her, his posture radiating an unyielding strength, yet she could sense his inner turmoil as the man continued to approach. Victor, the man repeated, his voice taut with urgency. We need to talk. It's about the shipment. Elena's heart raced. The word shipment echoed ominously in her mind, conjuring images of clandestine deals and dangerous undertakings. The realization that she had walked into a world far more perilous than she ever imagined settled heavily on her chest. With a quick glance at Victor, she noticed the tension in his jaw and the way his hands curled into fists at his sides. What do you mean? Is something wrong? Victor's voice was low and controlled, but she could hear the undercurrent of concern, the unspoken fear for both their safety. It's not just wrong, it's compromised. Someone's been talking, the man said, glancing around as if the walls had ears. We have to move now. Elena felt Victor's gaze shift to her, a silent question lingering in the air. She opened her mouth to protest, to demand answers, but the urgency of the moment stifled her words. Instead, she took a step closer to him, grounding herself in his presence. Victor's eyes softened, but the urgency returned as he turned his attention back to the man. Who? Victor demanded, his voice dropping to a whisper as he tried to contain the rising storm within him. I don't know. But I overheard something at the docks. We're not alone. The man's eyes darted around the room again, and Elena felt a shiver run down her spine. The threat was immediate, a shadow lurking just out of sight. Stay behind me, Victor ordered, positioning himself defensively in front of her. She wanted to protest, to assert her independence, but the foreboding atmosphere swallowed her words. Suddenly, the tension snapped like a taut wire. Elena's courage surged as she stepped forward, the weight of her heart pushing her to confront the reality of their situation. Victor, I need to know what's really going on. You can't keep me in the dark while you face danger alone, she insisted, her voice steady despite the chaos that surrounded them. Victor's gaze met hers, a mixture of surprise and admiration flickering in his eyes. "Elena, this isn't your world. It's dangerous." "I don't want you involved in this," he replied, his tone firm yet softening at the edges. "And that's exactly why you brought me here, isn't it?" Elena pressed, feeling the adrenaline pumping through her veins. "To shield me from your reality? But I can't just stand by and watch. I want to understand why you're so determined to protect me, Victor. What are you afraid of?" A moment of silence hung between them, heavy with unspoken emotions. Victor's expression shifted, and for the first time, she saw a glimpse of the man beneath the cold exterior, the trauma that haunted him. "I've lost too much, Elena. People I cared about, people I couldn't save because I was too late. I won't let that happen again," he confessed, his voice barely above a whisper. Elena's heart ached at his vulnerability. In this moment of raw honesty, she realized the depth of his feelings, the weight of his past bearing down on him, shaping the way he interacted with the world. "You're not alone in this, Victor. I want to help, to be part of whatever this is between us." "You can't push me away," she said, her voice fierce with conviction. His gaze flicked back to the man, then back to her, the conflict evident in his eyes. "This is not a game, Elena. You don't know what you're asking for," he warned. "No, but I'm willing to learn." "I'm willing to face this with you," she replied, her resolve hardening. "I refuse to hide in the shadows while you fight your battles alone." The man watching them shifted uncomfortably, sensing the tension spiraling between them. "Victor, we don't have time for this. We need to move, now," he urged, his urgency breaking through the moment. With a deep breath, Victor steeled himself, his decision made. "Fine," he said, turning back to the man. "But if she's coming, she needs to know everything. There are no secrets anymore." Elena stood taller, a rush of exhilaration flooding through her. This was what she had wanted, an entrance into his world, an acknowledgement of their connection. She felt a newfound sense of empowerment as they prepared to face the unknown together. As they began to move toward the exit, Victor's fingers brushed against hers, a brief electric connection that sent shivers down her spine. In that moment, amidst the chaos and impending danger, she knew they were bound by more than just the threat outside, they were tethered by the storm of emotions swirling between them. What lay ahead was uncertain, but together, they would navigate the treacherous waters of Victor's world. Little did they know, the confrontation that awaited them would change everything. As they stepped into the night, the weight of their unspoken fears clung to the air, but so did the flickering flame of their connection. And with each heartbeat, Elena felt the promise of something deeper, something that could either save them or tear them apart forever. The air was thick with tension as the rival gang's enforcers moved in unison, their intentions clear and threatening. Victor's protective stance shielded Elena, yet the reality of their situation sank in deeper. Each moment stretched like an elastic band ready to snap, and Elena felt every heartbeat echoing against the silence. She glanced up at Victor, searching for reassurance, but found only determination etched across his features. "Victor, we have to do something," she whispered, her voice steady despite the fear coursing through her veins. The weight of the moment pressed heavily on her shoulders, yet she refused to succumb to it. Instead, she felt an unexpected surge of courage, a fierce desire to confront the chaos encroaching on their lives. He turned slightly, eyes narrowing into slits of focus. "They're not just here for a talk, Elena. They want to send a message." And then, like a match igniting a pile of dry leaves, the room exploded into chaos. The rival gang surged forward, their faces twisted with malice, weapons glinting under the dim lights. Victor reacted instinctively, pulling Elena close as he moved to intercept the first attacker. She watched in awe as he moved with an elegance that contrasted starkly with the brutality unfolding around them. "Elena, stick close to me," he shouted, his voice cutting through the din. She felt the warmth of his body against hers, a strange comfort in the maelstrom of violence. She didn't hesitate, she followed him, her instincts guiding her even as fear threatened to overwhelm her. As they navigated through the tight clusters of fighting bodies, Elena's heart raced not just from the adrenaline of the moment but also from the realization that she was right in the eye of the storm. Victor was not just a mafia boss, he was a man fighting for survival, and she was determined to fight alongside him. "Why did you bring me here?" she yelled over the clamor, urgency lacing her tone. "You can't just shield me from this." Victor's eyes met hers again, a fleeting moment that spoke volumes. "Because I thought I could protect you," he roared, deflecting a blow aimed at him with a swift motion that sent the attacker sprawling. "But you're right. You deserve to know the truth." In that moment, Elena grasped the depth of their connection. The danger around them fused their fates together, and she felt a fierce resolve coursing through her. "Then tell me," she shouted, her voice rising above the chaos. The fighting intensified, and Victor grabbed her hand, pulling her behind a nearby pillar for cover. "You don't know what I'm up against, Elena. They want to take everything from me, from us," he declared, the weight of his words hanging heavily between them. Elena's breath hitched at the revelation. This wasn't just a skirmish, it was a battle for survival, not just for Victor but for their relationship. She reached out, squeezing his hand in solidarity. "Then let's fight together. I won't let them take you from me." Victor's gaze softened momentarily, a flicker of admiration breaking through the tension. "I can't lose anyone else," he whispered, his voice cracking under the weight of his past. "Not again." "Then don't," she replied fiercely. "We'll face them together." With a shared understanding, they leaned into each other, the world around them fading into the background. As the rival gang advanced, Victor's fierce protectiveness melded with her unwavering courage. The tide of chaos surged, but they were ready. With a sudden burst of energy, Victor moved out from behind the pillar, pulling Elena with him. Together, they charged toward the fray. Elena fought alongside him, her heart pounding with each decisive action. She dodged, weaved, and struck, recalling every self-defense technique she'd ever learned. Each movement felt like a dance, a testament to her strength and determination. They turned the tide, pushing back against the rival gang. Victor's remarkable strength was complemented by Elena's tenacity, and they became a force to be reckoned with. The adrenaline of their fight ignited something deep within Elena, a realization that she belonged in this world, fighting for the man she loved. As the last of the gang members fell back, Victor's chest heaved from exertion, but his eyes were ablaze with pride. "You're incredible," he gasped, the admiration in his voice unmistakable. Elena smiled, breathless yet elated. "So are you. We did this together." But even in their moment of triumph, danger lingered in the shadows. The rival gang was not so easily deterred, and Victor's past was a storm that refused to calm. "We need to get out of here," he urged, urgency threading through his tone. "Where will we go?" she asked, trying to catch her breath while processing the gravity of their situation. "To a safe house," he replied, scanning the room for threats. "It's better to regroup than to stay in the open." As they made their way to the exit, Elena felt a shift in Victor. The weight of his burdens pressed down harder now, and she sensed the conflict brewing within him. "Victor, talk to me. What's going on in that head of yours?" she pressed gently, grabbing his arm to halt his hurried pace. He hesitated, his expression torn. "It's not just about the gang anymore, Elena. It's about you, about us. I can't keep dragging you into this life without knowing you can handle it." Elena's heart raced at his admission. "I can handle it, Victor. I've proven that tonight. But we need to be honest with each other. What does this mean for us?" A flicker of vulnerability crossed his face, and in that moment, she saw the man beneath the mask. "It means that I care about you more than I should. And I'm scared of what that means for both of us." The raw honesty in his words resonated deeply within her. "Then let's face that fear together," she said softly, searching his eyes for confirmation. "Whatever happens next, we do it as a team." Victor nodded, his gaze fierce yet tender. They were on the brink of something monumental, a choice that would define their future amid the chaos that surrounded them. Together, they would navigate the perilous waters of Victor's world, united against the shadows threatening to tear them apart. As they stepped into the night, hand in hand, Elena felt a surge of hope. The dangers ahead were palpable, but so was their bond, a connection forged in the fires of adversity. Whatever awaited them beyond this moment, they would face it together, armed with love and an unwavering resolve to fight for their future. The chaos of the fight had finally subsided, leaving a heavy silence in its wake. Victor and Elena stood amidst the remnants of the skirmish, adrenaline still coursing through their veins. The air felt different now, charged with a mixture of relief and uncertainty. Victor, bruised yet unbroken, turned to Elena, his expression a blend of pride and concern. She could see the weight of the world reflected in his eyes, a stark reminder of the dangers they had just faced together. "Are you okay?" he asked, his voice low, almost a whisper. The vulnerability in his tone surprised her, revealing a side of him she had yet to fully understand. She nodded, though her heart still raced. "I am, but we need to talk." Victor's brow furrowed, and he stepped closer, his presence enveloping her like a shield. "About what happened back there?" he inquired, his tone shifting to something more serious. Elena took a deep breath, gathering her thoughts. "Yes, and about us. This life you lead, Victor, it's dangerous. I can't just stand on the sidelines anymore, hoping you'll protect me. I want to understand everything." His eyes softened, a flicker of admiration crossing his face. "You're brave, Elena. I knew that the first time we met." He paused, contemplating his next words. "But this world, it's not just dangerous, it's ruthless. I brought you here to keep you safe, but I realize now that I can't shelter you from the truth forever." "Then tell me," she urged, her voice steady. "Why did you bring me into this? What do I mean to you?" The question hung in the air, heavy with unspoken emotions. Victor took a step back, as if the weight of her inquiry had physically pushed him away. "You're everything," he confessed, his voice cracking. "But I thought keeping you at a distance would protect you. I thought I could shield you from the chaos that surrounds me." "But that's not how love works," Elena replied, her heart pounding. "Love means facing the chaos together, not hiding from it. If we're going to make this work, we need to be honest with each other." He regarded her for a long moment, the tension between them shifting from uncertainty to resolve. "You're right. I've lost too much already. I can't lose you too." His admission was raw, a glimpse into the pain that had shaped him into the man he was today. "What do we do now?" Elena asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Now," Victor said, stepping closer again, "we make a pact. No more hiding. We face the challenges together, whatever they may be." Elena felt a warmth spread through her at his words, a sense of belonging that she hadn't fully recognized before. "Together," she echoed, her heart swelling with hope. "I want to be by your side, Victor. I won't let fear dictate our future." He reached for her hand, their fingers intertwining as if sealing their promise. "I'll do everything in my power to keep you safe, but I won't hold you back anymore. If you choose to stand with me, we'll face whatever comes next. Together." The gravity of their commitment settled between them, a new chapter unfolding in their tumultuous story. Elena felt invigorated, her earlier fears replaced by a fierce determination. "Then let's start by taking control of our lives," she said, her voice steadier now. "We need to strategize and confront your enemies, together." Victor's gaze sharpened, the fire of resolve igniting within him. "You're not just a bystander anymore. You're a partner, and I promise to treat you as such." As they shared a moment of silence, Elena felt the world around them fade into insignificance. In that instant, it was just the two of them, bound by shared experiences, fears, and an undeniable connection. They had emerged from the chaos stronger, their relationship forged in the crucible of danger and uncertainty. "I believe in us," she said, her voice unwavering. No matter what happens, we'll find a way through it. Victor nodded, a small smile breaking through his usually stoic demeanor. I never thought I'd find someone like you in this life. You give me hope, Elena. Hope that maybe I can change, that this world doesn't have to consume me. Then let's change it together, she replied, feeling a surge of confidence. Let's show them that we're not afraid. As they stepped out of the shadows of the chaos, the weight of their pact felt liberating. They were no longer just a mafia boss and a woman caught in his world, they were partners ready to face the unknown, hand in hand. With the night still cloaked around them, they walked side by side, their hearts aligned, ready to confront whatever lay ahead. The journey before them wouldn't be easy, but as long as they faced it together, they felt invincible. Before you skip, just remember, channels like this only survive if you hit subscribe. Otherwise, stories like this one just disappear. And with that, they stepped into the future, their love a beacon of hope amidst the shadows of uncertainty, ready to write the next chapter of their lives.